Hi, and welcome to the Thriving Writer Show. On today's show, we have the best-selling author of the book Writer's Doubt, the number one enemy of writing and what you can do about it. And let me tell you, this book changed my life as a writer. He's also the founder of the award-winning website, Positive Writer. Welcome to the show, Bryan Hutchinson.
Howdy, Frank. How's it going?
It's great. Well, let me ask you, Bryan, when did you know that you were a writer?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know, probably very young. When I was around 12 years old, I'd say I started realizing I wanted to get into writing. But I didn't write anything of major significance until years and years later. But I wrote little things in my notebook that I kept along with my scrapbook for years. I still have them.
That's awesome. I can relate to that. As a teenager, I used writing to just help me keep my sanity and just process everything that was going on around me that I didn't understand. And on your blog, you talk a lot about the struggles that we have as writers. What do you see as perhaps the number one struggle that writers are facing?
Well, what's the number one enemy of writing?
Writer's doubt, right?
Doubt, that's right. So yeah, most people don't believe they're good enough to not just be a writer, but to reach an audience, to entertain people, to touch people, to talk to people. There's a lot of negative feedback that we internalize that no one else ever hears, but we're hearing it in our own heads. And so that's something I've struggled with, and I've learned to work around or work over or overcome, whatever you want to call it. And that's where I got writer's doubt from. And yeah, so I think just about everyone deals with doubt in their own way, but not everyone overcomes it enough to do what they want to do, what they dream of doing. So that is why I chose to write about that, to help others overcome their doubt, or at least deal with it so that they can accomplish their dreams or do what they want to do.
Awesome.
The best that I can offer.
That's great. Well, how about for you? What was maybe that one thing that, or was there one particular thing that just changed it all for you? For those who haven't read the book, what would be maybe the most important thing that happened in your life that said, okay, yeah, I'm good enough to do this and to get my work out there where people can benefit from it and enjoy it?
I don't think that there's, like a movie where there's just this one thing that happens in your life and boom, everything changes and suddenly you decide to do something. I don't think it really works that way. There came a point in my life where I was going through some struggles, and my therapist at the time suggested that I write my story. And I did that. I journaled my story. And when I was finished with my story, writing it out in my notebook, I felt that I could help others by sharing my story, because it had a lot to do with my childhood and how I overcame the struggles I had. Not a learning disorder, but I had ADHD, which had been undiagnosed most of my life. And so that caused me a lot of issues that could have been avoided or better dealt with had I known and had my parents known. Later in life, once I learned how to deal with them, whether people believe it exists or not, when I dealt with the issues that were causing me problems, I was able to do much better. And so I wrote that in my story and how I did it. So the book kind of turned in not just a memoir, but actually a coaching story as well for others who had not yet figured out how to work around their struggles with ADHD. And so when I published that, that's when it really started to take off, that I started writing, because I started a blog about ADHD as well, World. And then it just snowballed. I kept going until World wasn't enough for me, because the audience wasn't as broad as I wanted to reach. And writing seemed to be a topic that I could help a lot more people with. Because the issues, ADHD, the reason I think it's so controversial is because a lot of the issues with ADHD are common issues everybody has. Just some are more severe with one person than another person. And so when they're enough to inhibit you, that's when it's called ADHD. But most people have these symptoms already. Like, we're all distracted sometimes. We're all absent-minded sometimes. We're all late sometimes. But when this is a continuous problem that that you can't resolve on your own, that's when it becomes ADHD. And so what I discovered with Outerworld, while I was writing these blog posts about ADHD, teaching others how I was learning to overcome it and how I was dealing with the issues, I had a lot of inquiries about how I went about writing my blog posts, how I went about writing my book, how I went about publishing it, how I went about getting attention for it. And so that became something on the side where I was answering all these blog questions. And I decided, you know what, I'm getting more questions about that than I am actually about ADHD. And I think the problem talking about ADHD in public is that most people don't want to talk about it. They kind of want to keep it a secret and not admit to it because of this this supposed controversy. And you know, the sniffles don't bother you until it becomes the flu. So, and distraction doesn't bother you until you aren't looking at the road when you're driving. You know, so the controversy, in my opinion, is just, it's overblown because people do have issues with anything and everything. It's just when it's severe that it becomes a problem. So anyways, so most people didn't want to talk about this openly, about ADHD. So I was getting all these questions about writing. And so I decided, okay, well, I'll take my encouraging message and I'll fashion it around writing. And I discovered that I got an audience fast in that realm. And the next thing you know, I wrote the book Writer's Doubt, which is half memoir, half about writing. And it tells my story of how, almost the same story in One Boy's Struggle, except One Boy's Struggle is more about ADHD, which I've taken that book off the market. I'm no longer selling that book. I might rewrite it at some point, but because it was written directly from my journal or published directly from my journal, it was never edited proper enough, and it was too raw in that the writing, I wouldn't say it's bad. I'm not gonna say my own writing's bad, but it wasn't exactly you know, polished. But it helped a lot of people. It won a lot of awards and it helped a lot of people. So it was really difficult for me to take it off the market. But once I got more into writing and more into publishing, I realized, you know, I'd be better serving people if I, you know, rewrote it again some down the line. But that's another topic that I'll hit on some other time. What else you got? Well, before I just go on forever.
Oh, well, it's been pretty entertaining. I've enjoyed hearing your story. And I think that's why, at least for me, your book was so much of a resonator in my life, is just because, you know, here's a real guy who's going through some real issues that are similar to mine, and he's overcome them. And that just gives me hope that, you know, I can do the same thing in my own life and in my own way. Well, speaking about a topic, we see how you discovered yours. I see a lot of writers that when they first start out, they say, hey, I want to write about everything I know. You know, I want to just get it all out there and spread myself everywhere. And of course, that's probably not the best strategy in the world. And what would you say is a great way to find a topic to hone in on if it's not as obvious maybe as it was in your case?
Well, as I think I just described it, it really wasn't as obvious as it seemed. Yes, I started talking about writing about ADHD, but I eventually got into Positive Writer, which was about writing. And let's not talk about the 4 blogs I started before then. I think the answer is not always very clear. It's not like one day I'm going to write about writing, or I'm going to talk about ADHD, or I'm going to talk about kite flying, or I'm going to talk about, you know, knitting sweaters for kittens. I think what's important is to know yourself in that what is it that you yourself are interested in constantly. Because although I got a lot of questions about writing, I wouldn't have gone in that direction if I wasn't interested in reading other people's work about writing. And it's something that keeps me, I read less about ADHD than I do about writing. In fact, I read very little about ADHD anymore, if anything. And but I'm always constantly reading blog posts about the craft, about writing. So I think anybody watching this, you know in your heart what it is that interests you. The problem isn't with what interests you. The problem is having the confidence that you have something to say about it. Again, we get back to doubt. Most people don't have that confidence to start talking or writing or entertaining or doing whatever they got to do about whatever it is that interests them, because they think either A, their story isn't good enough, or they don't know enough, or nobody's going to care about what they've got to say, or what have you. There's something that doubt is feeding them that's stopping them. That's not everyone, obviously. We have blogs. We have, a lot of people do get out there. But a lot of times, and I'd say majority of times, people pick the wrong topic because they're afraid of talking about the topic they really want to write about, or video about, or talk about, or whatever you want to, whatever kind of media they want to use, is because they're afraid of saying something wrong or that they won't say it right. And so they go off on a topic that's not as interesting because it won't hurt them as much if they get that wrong. So, but if it's something they love and they get it wrong, or they get slammed for it, or the haters come after them, that's going to hurt a lot. And so that's where doubt stops them. And you kind of say, screw the haters and do it anyway. And then you gain confidence over time, and then you become secure in who you are and what you're talking about. And then it just starts to snowball.
I think that hits a lot of the sensitivity that creative people tend to have. We sort of think of it as our baby, if you will. And I was talking with somebody recently about that. As a writer, if you want to make a living with your writing, you can't treat your writing as your baby. You have to think of it as a product that is working for you, at least in a sense. And do you think maybe that notion would help you deal with the risk of people coming back and saying, oh, well, I really didn't like what you said, or, you're wrong, or things like that. But just to be willing to stick your neck out there and maybe take possible rejection, but also know too that, there are going to be some people out there who will resonate with what you're writing. So how does risk play into that, and how can we overcome the fear of the risk and just go ahead and do it anyway?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? How do you overcome the risk? Well, I don't know. I don't know exactly who you were talking to or what it was about as far as seeing your writing as a product or something like that. Because I have a hard time seeing it that way. I don't see anything I do as a product. In fact, my God, you have no idea how many emails I get daily almost asking me about packaging my writing as a product, blog, doing all kinds of stuff that I turn down that I have absolutely no interest in, because I don't see it that way. A lot of people do to create revenue from their writing, which I think the best writing comes from doing it from your heart and doing it because you want to. And then after you get that out and it gets edited and so on, because yeah, One Boy Struggle I took off the market. I never thought about publishing it or anything, but it was really, without stating numbers, it was a phenomenal success. It was. And it's a terribly written book. I mean, well, okay, it's a journal, so it's not intended to be written in a certain way that's to be published. Yeah. And I published it almost as an afterthought, and I didn't think anyone was actually going to read it. Then when these national magazines and other people started reaching out to me and got interested in it, I was like, whoa, because I did ask a couple publishers if they wanted to publish it, and they're like, oh, hell no. So, you know, it was kind of entertaining in a way to see the success it was having and how it was resonating with people. But I never dreamed of packaging it. I never dreamed of it as a product. So I guess I would have to see what you were talking about or who you were talking to and see the interview and understand exactly how they meant it. But I think it's more important from my personal opinion to write it because you want to write it, create it because you want to create it, do it because you want to do it, not because you have to do it. Now, if it's in your job to be like, for example, a copywriter or marketing or whatever your job is, that's a different story. Because it is very difficult, I would say, to create money from your writing at first. Once you start get the money coming in, it becomes easier in the sense that you have some direction, and it's like before you actually find a publisher for your book or an agent or what have you, you have to have a day job. You have to have something to support you. And so I can see where the product sense comes in, but I don't see things that way. And maybe it's because I have the benefit that I don't have to. But I'm like anyone else. With a day job, doing this on the side and doing what I love to do or what I think is what I feel best doing. So I don't know that I answered your question, to be honest with you, but I just caught on to when you were saying, look at it as a product.
Yeah.
Now, my online courses, even those I don't really even see as a product per se. I see those as helping people. Yes, I charge for them for two reasons. One, I need to eat like you do. But the other reason is because most people don't take things seriously until they've paid for it. It's a weird sense of human nature. I know everybody watching is saying, oh, that's not true. It's true, believe me. Because we get stuff all the time that we don't pay for, and then we don't give it the value it deserves, and then we never really invest ourselves into it. So those are the two reasons they're charged. They are products per se, but when I created them, I didn't see them that way. So that's a little bit, I know that's probably the proper way to do things, is see things as products, but I just can't see it that way.
I think there is value though in creating something because you want to create it, and I think in the end it'll make it easier to sell if you make some sort of an emotional connection with people, like you did with your book, One Boy's Struggle. I think that's probably, maybe the rawness and just the emotion and just the issues that you talked about that resonated with people will help that book and get the attention that it deserves.
You know what's funny? You know what writer's doubt is? You've read Writer's Doubt, and I think you've read it a couple times. So you know what Writer's Doubt is. It is a book about writing One Boy's Struggle. If you think about it, it's my story about how I wrote One Boy's Struggle. Because while I was writing One Boy's Struggle, how I overcame my doubts and my fears and all of that actually put my trauma on the page, even though there was a lot of risk. My family didn't want me to, and so on and so forth. My wife was afraid of what people would think and what people would try to do. And people did try. People did put me down. There were haters. There was a lot of controversy that I had to deal with. So Writer's Doubt deals with all of that. It's a book about a book. But I don't know why I just brought that up, but I thought that was interesting, where a lot of people have really resonated with Writer's Doubt, and it's about writing. It's about writing another book and how the process worked. And I think a lot of people are really interested in the process and how to make the process work for them. But I took it from a different standpoint. I took it from the emotional standpoint and dealing with all that doubt and still doing what I wanted to do or what I desired to do, even though I was in a sense holding myself back at the same time.
I don't know. I think that's probably why it stands out because there's a lot of books about how to do the craft, about how to put a book together and things like that that don't touch us well on the emotional and personal parts that we all face when we put our work out there, share our story, and just try to get real with people so that they can be encouraged to follow their own dreams. Well, let's get back to getting attention for our work. As creative people, we have a gift, or at least we like to think we have a gift for writing or for art. And people should just, pay attention to that and love it because it's creative and we think it's great. But often it doesn't work out that way. What is maybe the best mindset to have about that as far as putting your work out there and maybe the reluctance to do it? I know we talked about some of that with, feeling like you have the confidence to do it, but maybe what's the mindset that drives that confidence and drives you to do things that will get attention for your work?
Well, I think I have a little bit of benefit, and you probably do too. And a lot of people that we don't talk about a lot. I used to play pool, professional pool. But before I became a professional, I lost a lot. I mean, I lost so much and so frequently, it was embarrassing, growing up and so on and so forth. And so when you lose so much in public, playing the game, after a while you become numb to people watching you lose. In other words, you're not so influenced as to what people think of you while you're losing, while you're playing terrible. So when you're playing good and you start getting stronger and better and improve, you have this numbness for the audience, for what they think, what they want of you, whatever. And I think that's what's called building a backbone. And really, it's not a backbone per se. It's a numbness to what other people care about and what other people say about you. And whether you put an article out there filled with typos or put a book out there that hasn't been properly edited or what have you, you're numb, or I am numb to what people think of you for doing that. If they think it's crap, it doesn't really bother you. And in the sense that, so what I'm getting to is that you have to do it, and you have to do it again and again and again and again until you become numb to what people think of it in a negative light. And I remember that when I was playing tournaments and I was getting really good, I noticed that my opponents would frequently become distracted by the audience's groans or boos or the way people acted while they were watching. Whereas that didn't bother me, and some people would call me stone cold. And it wasn't that. It was just that I had lost so many times in front of people that I just didn't care, because I was totally numb to it. And so when I started to actually do well and win, and I had a lax where I wasn't doing as well, I didn't fall into this hole because I was numb to it. I had lost so many times that I didn't care. Whatever. And somebody could say, oh man, you're the worst player in the world. So other people have said it to me already. Who cares? You're sitting there watching. I'm playing. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what you have to do when you're getting attention for your work and you're putting it out there. You have to be willing to take the criticism of putting work out there that's not perfect. Because if you think about it, 95% of the blogs, more than that, of the blogs out there are by people that are not professional writers. And I know a lot of professional writers that write 10 times better than I do that are scared to death to put their work out there for you and I to read because somebody might say that they have a typo or they did some. And you'd be surprised at the emails I get sometimes from people saying, you misspelled this. And I'm like, really? Where's your work? And you kind of have that mindset. I'm not trying to be mean or facetious or anything. What I'm trying to say is You have to have a numbness to people that say things like that, so you can go forward and put your work out there, because there are people watching this possibly that are professional writers that will not put their work out there, and there's people watching this that are more like me, are just amateurs, and they are putting their work out there, and they're getting noticed, and they're getting better, they're improving, and they're getting more attention than these great writers who aren't willing to go forward and put the work out there and be criticized for it. And the thing is, most of the work that gets out there isn't polished the way it used to be, because before blogging came along and online zines, or whatever you want to call them, all the books in the bookstores were published traditionally, and they went through editor after editor after editor, and so we held all of ourselves up to this standard of writing that's probably been edited 3 to 4 times before it ever hit the market. So you don't even know how the original author's original text looked. It might have been filled with typos. It might have had a lot of errors. It's the story that matters. But now our work is going straight to the reader without those 2 or 3 edits. And so you have to be willing to go back to that risk you were talking about, to say, the hell with it, I'm going to do it anyway. And if you notice, after a while, if you notice on Positive Writer in the comments, or even on AdWorld, there's not so much hate anymore. People are used to that now. People are used to the raw writing that's online, because that's the way it is now. It's kind of sort of like we went back in time before traditional publishing, and you had letters, which were filled with errors, but the letter was still there. So what I'm trying to say is, to anybody watching this who's afraid of putting their work out there, just do it. You're going to get hit, but after a while, you're not going to care as much anymore, because you're going to become numb to it. But there's less a chance today, I think, of getting criticized than there was just a few short years ago, because even established authors now are putting their work out there without having it over edited. You can go Jerry B. Jenkins, who wrote the Left Behind series, to his blog. There's errors on that, and he's sold multiple millions of books, and he's way established beyond any of us day-to-day bloggers. But you'll find errors on his blog too, because it's not going to that 2 or 3. So I'm not saying he makes mistakes, which he's human, but what I'm saying is, we're all going to do it. So put your stuff out there anyway.
I love that pool player analogy, just getting out there and doing it, and doing something, that could be potentially fun, and having the fun aspect of it.
You have no idea how much I lost, man.
That kind of reminds me of what John Maxwell said, maybe, I think, about failing forward and just failing quickly, and learning from it, and just deciding that you're going to keep going and get that attention, or just to get the brass ring you're after. And really, the only way you can do that is just to get out there and do it and do it and do it, and learn from the experience, hopefully, and develop some sort of a thick skin to.
Well, that's where, like, the new course I have coming out, How to Get Attention, that you've gone through. The reason why I'm doing that as well is to help people that are like you and me, or anyone else that wants to set up a blog and they don't know how to get readers, or they're afraid of getting readers. But ultimately, really, it's they don't know how to get readers. They don't want to write for nobody. They want people to read their work. So that whole course is teaching people how to get people to come and read their work, or view their work, or listen to their work, and how to get around some of the pitfalls, and how to find some, and really, to be honest with you, I was just going through some edits from the course, because I had another person go through and edit for typos and things like that, and I was reading her comments, and I was like, after I'd gone through the whole thing all over again, I was like, this is really, really, from my view, it's really simple. But most people don't know these techniques. They just don't. They can blog for years, and for whatever reason, they don't learn these techniques. And I think it's because it's not as easy as it seems to get the attention. Yes, it's easy to create a blog, and yes, it's easy to start putting posts out if you're willing to take that risk. But it's not so easy to figure out how to get people to come read your work, view your work, or listen to your work. That's the hard part, because we all say, oh, well, we can put our work online and millions of people can view it. Seriously? That's easy to say, and we all think it's a reality, but it's not, you know? You got to know how to get the people to come and read your work. And just that you write it and they will come, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. You have to go out there, grab people, bring them back to your work and say, hey, read it. And then once they do read it, and it's got to be the right people, because getting somebody who's not interested in what you're writing about to read it doesn't matter. You need the people that are interested in reading or viewing or listening to what you've got, because if they like it and they're into it, they're going to share it with more people that are also interested in that. And that's how you get started. And so, but it's very important for any blogger that's watching this. You have to learn how to get the attention for it. Just putting your work out there isn't enough. You need to learn the techniques we use online in order to get that attention, because there's most bloggers, I believe, give up, and artists online give up because they don't know how to get the attention for their work. That saying that you just put your work online and there's millions of people will find it because you have access to the whole world, or the whole world has access to you, is not accurate. Because it's like dropping a pebble in the ocean. You have to be able to draw people to your work, show them where your work is, draw the right people to your work, and have a way for them to share it, so that if it's really good, that you can start the process of it going viral. And people don't realize that they really have a lot of control in creating their own work going viral. It's also important that when you get the attention, that you capture the contact information of the people that are visiting your blog, their email addresses. And that's something that doesn't work as well when you're on Facebook or Medium or these other sites. Yeah, you can get a lot audience or people that you're connected to, or followers, or friends, but you don't have their email addresses. You don't have direct access to them. And that's the great thing about having a blog. So that's part of getting attention, is keeping the attention.
You did mention that we need an email list to build a following. So what are some ways that we can do that to start with? And then once we have those folks, what can we do to keep them engaged with us?
Well, the first thing is to capture the contact information. So on your blog or website, you have to have the visitor has to have some reason to give you their email address. And some ways of doing that is offering an ebook, a manifesto, or some other kind of gift to your reader that they can download or receive once they give their email address to you. And that's rather simple to do with whichever email marketing service they choose. Say MadMimi, the one I use, MailChimp, or any of the slew of other email marketing services. And once you have something, it can even be a collection of blog posts, it can be a checklist, it can be anything, but you have to have some reason that the reader is compelled to leave their email address with you, so that they will get updates. And how to keep them interested is just by posting frequently information that they would be interested in, and sending them information about products and services that they might be interested in, without spamming them. Also, whatever information you might have or going on in your niche, sending that to them to keep them up to date about, especially when you can offer them extra free gifts. Like, for example, a lot of times the reason why I send my readers about new courses online, because like Chandler Bolt recently, he did the self-publishing school, but he gave away a great book with the launch. It was one of his books that has 700 reviews on Amazon, and he was giving it away for free for those that not enrolled in the course, but just opted in to his webinars, to his online training, and for that he was giving the book away. So I send that to my readers, because why not? They're going to love it. Or when Jeff Goins did the Tribe Writers, and he gave away a free ebook as well. So that's some great stuff to give your readers, because you think, well, you're selling them something, but the truth is they're really getting something free in return. They don't have to buy anything to get those free products, and those are products they normally sell. So it's a really good deal for readers, and that'll keep them interested. Some people will get a little bit pissed off that they're getting frequent emails about products or services if they don't look, beyond getting something for free, the free content that's added to it, and you can't do anything about that. So that's just the way it is, and so it's important to have an easy way so that it can unsubscribe. You don't want a bunch of unsubscribes, but at the same time, it is fair that if they don't want the information and they don't want frequent emails from you, that they can say goodbye as well, and that's part of it.
Yeah. Well, what about social media? There's a lot of options for that these days to get attention for your work. Is there any particular way that you have found that works better than some of the other ways?
It's funny, with me, as far as social media goes, I personally am not as active on social media as I was a few years ago. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to get on social media as I would like. But I think paid advertising on Facebook is really good. It doesn't cost you a lot to get the ball rolling, where people start sharing your work from your Facebook page. It costs you a few dollars to get that started. But really what's more important than that on social media is having a good plugin on your blog with share buttons on there, so people can share it themselves. And that goes back to finding the right people on social media or wherever, drawing them to your blog or website, and then having an ability for them to be able to share it. Because it's your readers who really want to get the social media thing going, because as one person, as the author, you can only do so much sharing. You can only, on your Facebook page or your Twitter, on wherever you are online, you have those options, but really what you need is for your readers to share it. So it's very important to have a good ability with buttons on your page, on your blog post, so that people can share them. And then what's really important as well to that is that not just buttons, but buttons with numbers. And what I mean by that, so others can see how many times it's already been shared, because people are compelled to share it more when they see other people are sharing it. And I notice a lot of blogs don't do that. They just have the buttons, but they don't have the numbers of social shares. And I think some people are afraid, well, I won't have many numbers, so I don't want to be embarrassed that not a lot of people are sharing my work. But yeah, there will be times, even on Positive Writer, where a lot of people don't share posts. But when they do, you want to have that social status, so to speak, that shows that people care about your work and that they're willing to share it. And that compels the next person that reads your work to share it as well. Social media is very important. I mean, it's hugely important, but it's more important to have your audience do the sharing for you. Because if you can get them to do that, that not just saves you time, they're going to share it directly to people who really care about what you're writing. Because who knows what your reach is on Facebook? If it's like, it might say today you have 100,000 followers, right? but you can't reach those 100,000 followers even if you want to, because of the way Facebook works. So you need paid advertising in order to reach a certain number. So when your readers start to share and that multiplies, that will help it go viral. But I will say it's a lot harder today to go viral than it was just a few years ago, because Twitter, Facebook, and other sites are getting into all this paid advertising of your links. And so they don't get as much views as they used to. So it's important to have to know where your readers are, where your viewers are, where your listeners are, so you can go directly there to their communities, become a member of their communities, become a valuable member of their communities, not just self-promotional. And that you create your own community, in a sense, from multiple communities. And when you create that community of your own, they will in turn share your work as well, while you're sharing their work too. It's back and forth.
You talk about partnerships in your course, and I'm thinking in terms of, some of the interviews that you've gotten, like say with the Jerry Jenkins and the Seth Godins. And I know as writers, it's probably one of our biggest dreams to connect with somebody that's in our topic that has a huge audience. Is there a simple way to get the door to open on things like that?
To interview people like that? Well, yeah, you just ask them. If you have a blog and you want to interview somebody, the best thing you can do is actually get your blog established first. Get attention for your blog first. Just having a blog isn't enough per se. You need attention. There is no ins, ands, or buts about it. You need attention for your blog. The more attention your blog has, the more likely the people that you ask to interview will say yes, because they would like to read your readers too. However, even if you don't have a large audience, it doesn't mean you can't ask. And all they can do is say no. It's no big deal. I know it can be crushing to get no's. I've gotten no's too. But you can ask again later at another point too, when you've built your audience, when you're getting the attention you need, then you can ask again. And the best thing to do is, when you are asking for interviews, provide the questions up front. They might just answer them right away, send them back to you, or do it in a video, or however you choose to do it. And you have to realize that a lot of people that you're asking to interview might have certain ways they want to do the interview, be it video, in writing. I know a lot of people are doing video now, but I still prefer written interviews over video interviews. And the reason I prefer written interviews for my website is because when it's in writing, it's more SEO, it's more searchable from Google or from Bing or from whatever search engine they use. The more text you have from the interview, the more likely it is it's going to be found online through a search engine. Whereas videos, you've got your title and you've got your tags, and that's it. And you're fighting against all these other, videos about interviews and so on and so forth, which you're doing the same thing with blogs, but you have more text that enables search engines to find you quicker, if at all.
That's an interesting idea, and certainly explains a lot of what I was doing, at least in the beginning, with all the text interviews, and I know that you have some on your blog as well. So what are some of maybe the hidden ways that bloggers can make money from their blog? I mean, the ones that aren't so obvious, like selling a book or selling a course. What are some other ways that writers can use the attention that they generate using what you teach in your course to make some money?
Well, a big way is affiliate links and doing affiliate and that's probably the biggest thing online right now is affiliate marketing, where, for example, if you are selling a book on your website, don't just sell it directly via Amazon. Use an affiliate link from Amazon, that you get also a percentage of the sales in your pocket for, like, if you have a list, let's say you put a list of the top 10 movies on Amazon, top 10 books on Amazon or whatever, use affiliate links from Amazon on those so that you can make some money from the actual links. I've been doing that for years, and I'll tell you, I've made some good money just from affiliate links alone, which has surprised me at times. Because if you go to one of my blog posts on books that I listed, it has thousands upon thousands of social shares. I mean, it's been viewed hundreds of thousands of times. And so you imagine all those books are affiliate links. I'll leave it there. So it's possible to generate, a little bit of pocket change by using affiliate links, and it's very important. Anything you promote on your website, you should be using an affiliate link, and that goes for online courses as well, from, like, say, other authors or other entertainers or other whatever they're teaching. They have affiliate links for you as well that will give you a percentage of the sales. You should always be doing affiliate links. In fact, on my website, on the About page, in the disclaimer, it says every link on here is an affiliate link unless it states otherwise. Because I just get that right out of the way, because I want everybody to know. Because, yeah, it's great to have a blog, but nothing's free. You do have to pay for hosting. You have to pay your website fees monthly. There's certain fees. They might not be astronomical, but you have fees you have to pay. So you should have a way to bring income in from your blog and from the attention that you're getting. And you can make good money from your blog when you get enough attention, because it's not the blog that's making you money per se. It's the attention you're getting that's making you money. So that's very, very important to be able to monetize your blog, so that it will sustain itself and even give you a passive income that you have on top of your day job, that you can, go to dinner with, or take trips with, or do something special with. And if you do really well and you get a lot of attention and you market really well via your blog and your email list and so on and social media, you might even be able to leave your day job behind. And I've noticed a lot of my buddies online that I've come up with have left their day jobs behind, and that's a good thing. But it's not the blog per se that enables you to do that. Having a platform online is important. It's the attention that you get for that platform that is more important than just the platform itself. Because the email list that you're creating for your platform, let's say your host goes belly up and you lose the domain name and something happens that you lose all that content that's online, you still have your email list. You should be downloading it at least monthly, keeping it on the side so that you have it, and so that you can always email your readers. And you can start a whole new blog. If for some reason yours goes kapoof and it's gone, you can start a new one by the email list that you have already, because you still have your readers. The funny thing was when I changed from Adderworld to Positive Writer, Adderworld still exists for anyone that wants to look it up, but it's not maintained anymore. But and I, thinking about that, I still pay the website fees every month for that. So eventually I might nix it, but that was my baby, like we talked about earlier. But anyways, so when I went from Adderworld to Positive Writer, I still had the readers from Adderworld, and a lot of them followed me over to Positive Writer because they were interested in the writing process as well, not just ADHD. And it's funny that those folks that followed me over to Positive Writer became more engaged on Positive Writer than they did, because most people didn't. That's very important for anyone that's starting a blog, is if you start talking about something controversial about ADHD, you could be limiting yourself as far as the reach you will have. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I left Adderworld behind, is because the reach was very limiting. So that's important, in that the attention that you get is how you monetize your website, your platform. So if you have something that only has small amount of attention and you can't get that much bigger of attention, then you're not going to be able to monetize it very well, because your sales are going to be limited to whatever that audience is. Even if it's the #1 blog in that niche, if the niche is very small, you're not going to make much money from it. So you want a niche that's much, much, much bigger, that you can focus in one part of the niche, but it's overall, it's a very, like writing is huge. I mean, everybody writes emails. Everybody writes at some point of their day. We all are typing something. So everybody needs writing tips at some point or another. So writing is huge. ADHD, not so much, you know? So it's very important. The attention you want to get is going to be reliant on what your niche is and how big it is. But you have to have a focus within that niche, so that you, like, I write about writing, but I do not write about the technical aspects of writing. I do have some guest posts that come on, bloggers that come on, and they do that, but mine are mostly motivational, encouraging, and about overcoming doubt. And that's still a huge, huge audience, because everybody's got to deal with those issues. So that's getting back to getting attention, and that is how you monetize your blog. So I hope that made kind of sense. Again, I get a little bit of ranting when I'm on these video things, but if I'm going to say anything to anyone out there watching this now about to create a blog or has a blog, it's about the attention you get, not your blog itself. It's about the attention you get and capturing that attention. That's how you make money.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think one thing too that you touched on was that, you know, a lot of times as creatives, we don't think of that part of writing that as a business. And, you know, it's good to, you know, bring in some income from the attention that you're after, so that you can pay those hosting fees, and you can pay to maintain your email list, and you can pay to put food on the table, or whatever it is that you aspire to do. And your course has a lot of great ways to do both of those things, to get that attention and to focus in on a topic that people care about, enough people to make a living, or potentially doing what we love to do.
Right.
So tell us about where the course is and where we can get it. And of course, I will include an affiliate link in the show notes of this show, so that people can take advantage of that course.
Well, the best thing to do is to visit my site, positivewriter.com, and the information will be there when the course is available. It's the title of the course is straightforward: How to Get Attention. And as you know, I have other courses available about the art of positive journaling and writer's doubt, the course. And I'm doing, as I showed you a couple days ago, is I'm doing a bundle, which is a really, really great offer of all three of those courses together at one low price. But you can buy them separately, but I recommend everybody get the bundle, because why not? You're getting the other two courses for a huge saving. And that's to help me promote how to get attention, that new course, which I think is going to be very successful, in that everybody needs attention. And it's the process is, when I was going through the editing, I was like, wow, this is really simple. I think a lot of people are going to read this and say, man, this should have been obvious. But if it was so obvious, everybody would be doing it. It just after you read it back, you're thinking, wow, that makes sense. And I think that's the best kind of courses out there, the ones that make sense and are easy to do. And so that I think with the course, it's simple, but it's profound, in my opinion. Because if I would have known those things when I was first started out blogging, man, it would have cut years and years off learning how to get attention. I mean, wow, the years of trial and error, I mean, it's just phenomenal how much time it takes to learn these things if you don't have a course like this to teach you, no matter how simple they may seem. But anyways, go to my website called positivewriter.com. The information will be there. Like Frank just said, he'll have an affiliate link because he's a member as well. And so it'll probably be with this course. My suggestion is to look at the bundle, because that's where you're going to get the bang for your buck, and all the courses are worthwhile. So that's about it, Frank.
All right. Well, I've kept you here for quite a while, and you've given me some great information to share with our viewers today. And I want to thank you for every bit of it. And it's great to work with you.
Dude, man, what was it? A little bit. It's a little bit over an hour, so that's $1,000. All right. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, send me an invoice.
It's all good. No, I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. Take care, Frank.
All right. Thanks.